Hey there Retro Games fans, this is Andy C from Pieces of 8-Bit. You may notice something a little bit different today, so I've decided not to use the usual backgrounds that I have on, so you're just getting to see my rather small office. This is where I both do my recordings and my job. Yeah, my 15-year-old son reliably informs me that maybe I'm just better off having my background on there. What you can't see around here is all my other consoles. I'd love to be able to get those in shot because they're just lovely little bits of kit that just I think deserve a bit of limelight. But instead you get my my sort of some of my games collection and my bookshelf instead, so you can learn lots about what sort of things I like to cook. Okay, so today we're gonna do a review of the Asus Rog Ally X. So I did an unboxing video a little while back and proved incredibly popular. In fact, the most popular video that I've done up to date. So I figured people want to know about it. So I thought I would do a bit of a review. Now I owned the device for a few weeks and been playing on it quite a lot, doing some retro gaming, playing some modern games on there, as well as doing little bits of config here and there. So I kind of wanted to just tell you about my experience with it and whether I think that the Rog Ally X is worthy of a purchase. So yeah, let's dive in and have a look. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about sort of first impressions and then how easy it's been to configure it, a little bit about the gameplay, and then yeah, we'll see where we go from there. So without any further ado, let's absolutely dive in and have a look. Okay, so first impressions. What do I think? Yeah, just straight out the box. Obviously, if you saw my unboxing video, you'll have seen how nicely packaged the device was. So it was a real joy to kind of open that up and take the device out. Obviously, like all electronics nowadays, you don't tend to get very much with them. You've got the charger, and of course you've got these really cheapskate stands. Weirdly though, they are kind of, maybe someone will 3D print some of these and sell them, because they are they came with the first one. Everybody criticised them that time round as well. They're trying to be environmentally friendly, but at the end of the day, you've built this thing out of plastic and rare metals and goodness knows what else. So I think a little sort of plastic stand, maybe make it with some recycled plastic, would have been quite nice. Having said that, it does sit on there really nicely. So I think if someone was able to, let me just pop that in shot, if someone was able to actually sort of 3D print one of these, you could probably sell them for a couple of pounds a couple of dollars a go. I think they'll probably be onto a winner, to be honest, because they are actually quite nice. The device is actually quite sturdy on there, but of course they're made of cardboard, so they're not going to last forever. You know, this sits in the bottom of your bag and you drop a load of stuff in there and it's going to get crushed and then it's game over. That's why they send you two. Would have preferred to just send something a little bit more robust, but that's a really small criticism, to be honest with you. I think it was just a bit cheapskate, considering you're spending, you know, $700-800 on this. I think something a little bit more sturdy than that would have been nice. Let's not dwell on it. In terms of the actual device itself, you've got to plug it in to get it started, as you'll have seen from the vid. The 65-watt charger that it comes with charges reasonably quickly. I happen to have a 120-watt charger that comes with my laptop, so I do quite often use that. But to be honest with you, the 65-watt charger is quite sufficient, to be honest. I haven't really noticed it to be a problem. So yeah, I think you're probably going to be just fine with that. Obviously, if you want something different, then you can go get something different. In terms of the actual weight and the size of the device, one of the things I really liked about this compared to the Legion Go was the fact that the screen's just a bit smaller, the device is just a bit smaller. The Legion Go, I did it was very close run thing with that one. A couple of things that I wasn't so keen on with that particular device was the big screen made the device really quite large, and if you're okay with that, then great. I mean, it does look like a big device and it does have that lovely screen. The nice thing about that is it's got those sort of Nintendo Switch detachable controls, so you can just sort of have it sitting on a stand. It has a kickstand, not a little cardboard stand, so that's quite nice too, and then play that way. But I quite like the sort of handheld, tactile nature of the Rog Ally. And the screen itself is really, really lovely. When you first switch it on, it's hard to believe really that you're holding a pretty powerful PC in your hands, and it's got a really nice weight to it. It's not very heavy. It's not stupidly light. Everything feels, the buttons and the controls and everything else are very, very tactile. They just have a really nice feel. They're a really good place. It's very comfortable to hold. And I sat and played this last night for a couple of hours, and just had it in my hands, and it was just really, really nice to play. I think if there's anything that's missing off this, I would say probably the touchpads that you get, which people speak very highly of on the Steam Deck. So first impressions were pretty good, to be honest. I went into the Microsoft Xbox Live setup and signed up, downloaded a few games. Unfortunately, I was just on a really low bandwidth Wi-Fi connection at the time, so it took me a little while to get the games down. But that's really just that's not any fault of the device. It's just because games are massive and you really need decent broadband to do them now. So downloaded those, had a few goes with that. Initial impressions of the software itself I'll talk about in a second, but when I got the first game up and running, I was really impressed by just the continued quality of the screen, the contrast, the depth of colour, the blacks on the screen, all of those kind of things, really, really lovely. And despite the fact it's not an OLED screen, I don't think actually really matters. I think for a device this size, there's no noticeable mirror, which a lot of people have complained about on the Steam OLED, it doesn't seem to be so much of a problem on the Nintendo Switch. So I was talking to someone about this the other day, and I have noticed that it's not so much of a problem on the Switch, despite the fact I think it's the same panel. But yeah, this LCD screen is more than sufficient, and bearing in mind the size of screen that you're talking about here, and the size of the device, I just think the quality is bang on. So that was really the reason why I went for this over the Legion Go, was just the sort of form factor. People were saying that the Armoury Crate software on here that you get, which I'll talk about in a moment, is really, really good compared to what you get on Legion Go. Legion Go, Lenovo are a little bit further behind. They've just sort of come to this fairly recently, and so you are sort of getting a slightly lower spec device despite the bigger screen, half the hard drive size, battery's not quite as good. Still got the Ryzen Z1 Extreme, so still quite powerful, comparatively powerful on that side of things, but just even though the screen was smaller, this just felt like, for me personally, this was just a better bet. Just like the feel of this over the Legion Go, and I wanted the flexibility that came with having Windows rather than being kind of tied to what was in the Steam store. So let's have a quick look at the software now then. So first impressions on the software. I'm just going to switch the camera angle. I'll be right back with you. Okay, I will do my level best to try and show you the software as best as I can. If I have to kind of lift it up to show you, I'll do that. But hopefully you'll get the general idea. So again, as I mentioned before, one of the big reasons for choosing this over the Steam Deck is the fact that you've got basically you've got Windows sitting underneath here, which really does give you the flexibility to kind of do whatever you like. I will talk a little bit about retro games, because at the end of the day, this is a retro game channel, and this is something that you can do on there. And in fact, as you can see here, I'm going to just make it out. So I have Launchbox highlighted there, which I'll load up in a moment. So. The great thing is with these, as opposed to the Legion Go, is it comes with something called Armoury Crate. And Armoury Crate is basically Asus's answer to the Steam Deck sort of seamless functionality, so that everything is kind of available for you from here that you're ever going to need as a gamer. That's the idea. And essentially what it is it is a kind of an app launcher, and it also has a load of options for configuring the software. So ultimately, wherever you are in the system, there is a button up here which is the Armoury Crate button, and you can literally press on that, and that will bring the Armoury Crate up from wherever you happen to be at the time. So the other side as well, you've also got what's called the command center, and the command center, I don't know if you can see that, let me just pop this up here a little bit more so you can see. So command center, which is always available on this button here, wherever you are in the game, allows you quick access to some settings. Once you kind of get the hang of this, so when I first started using this, I kind of did struggle a little bit to figure out what things were there. It's quite daunting as somebody that's not necessarily a PC gamer. I found a lot of these settings in here quite daunting. You know, I've you know, someone who plays on consoles all the time, going to an FPS limiter or thinking about the operating modes and all of those kind of things are just kind of foreign to me. But actually, you realise quite quickly that these things are actually quite useful. It's definitely worth setting up you set up some additional buttons on here. It gives you the ability to add extra functions on here. So I think the top sort of 6 are populated, and then these ones are all blanks, and you can kind of add some extra things in here. Some of them I don't really use, I'll be honest, but one that I do find actually quite useful is the end task one. So if your application is being problematic, obviously doing Control-Alt-Delete on a device like this is quite tricky because I haven't got a keyboard. More on that in a second. But you can just obviously kill the task by pulling out this menu and killing it that way, which is actually occasionally, if you're really stuck for working out how the hell you need to get out of a particular game, that there's no obvious quit option, or it's hung, or it's behaving weirdly, you can just end task there. So that's quite useful. Other things in here that are of note, so you've got your brightness and your volume here on the left hand side. You've got your operating mode. So this will automatically, it's actually in turbo now even though it's not plugged in, this will automatically adjust depending on whether you're powered on or not, and obviously you can adjust that mode as you need to. Most things work really well in this 17 watt performance mode. When you plug it into the power, you'll get 25 watts, and that kind of basically gives everything a little boost and allows the games to run a little bit smoother, especially for some of the newer games which require a lot more intensity. I've been playing some other games on here, even things like Forza. I've been able to run it in the sort of performance mode, which is sort of the middle mode. You've got a power saving mode, which is 13 watt, which is called silent. And I think you might find that games might start to struggle if they have a lot of requirement. Performance mode is the default mode when you're unplugged, and then turbo mode is the default mode when you're plugged in to the power, and you can obviously adjust those modes manually by pulling out this menu. Next, which is kind of one of the things that I'm most irritated by on this device, and that is the control mode. Now what Asus have tried to do is they've tried to let the device determine what is the best control mode for each of the games that you're playing. So it'll generally go, if you're playing a game that's typically a console game, it will, if you're in auto mode, it will try and put it into like a basically to use the controls on here, but as a you know, like a traditional console style controller. If it's something like, for instance, Age of Empires or City Skylines, where it's more of a mouse and keyboards type effect, it will switch it to what's called desktop mode. I haven't found this to be all that reliable, to be honest, and quite often the mode's wrong, and then you'll be clicking on a button and it won't quite do what you expect it to do. So I quite often, I mean, this is the thing, I mean, you can pull this menu out. If it's not behaving quite how you expect, you can pull this menu out and you've got the 3 modes here that you can select: auto, gamepad and desktop. So you can just kind of switch around, which is quite handy too. Game profiles, that is sort of similar to what I spoke about before. You can configure what happens in the desktop mode, and you can configure what happens in the gamepad mode. Generally don't really play with that too much. Then we've got our keyboard. We can just pop our keyboard up. Generally speaking, if you need something with a keyboard, what I would strongly recommend that you do is get yourself something like this. So I've got a little Bluetooth keyboard here that I've had for years, and I just plug that in. Obviously there's a little portable one. It's easy to pair, but I think this was like a corporate freebie from somewhere, this one, so you can just use something like that. Anything will work, but it will just, when you're doing anything that requires any kind of major keyboard input, you can use that. And I also have a little travel mouse which I had for my laptop, which I use, and you can plug that one in. Obviously it's a USB mouse. Bluetooth mice are actually surprisingly difficult to find, so I have a little dock which I'll show you in just a second, which I use to connect the mouse, and has a number of other things on it as well.
you've got the keyboard on the screen, and you can change the modes for the keyboard as well. So you can have a wide, full wide keyboard, or this is like the sort of little mini keyboard that you get with it. It's a real fiddle, and to be honest with you, only use it if you've just got to do a little bit of input. If you have to put in if you're putting lots and lots of data in and you're typing a lot, just don't bother with this. It's not that great. This isn't an Asus thing. I think this is just the standard Windows thing. But you can pull that up at any point from this little command center pull-out menu here. And really, I suppose in terms of the command center, those are kind of the main things. You've got an FPS limiter over here, so if you're playing something that's kind of high intensity and you want to up the FPS, you can do, or vice versa. If you're finding that you just don't need that refresh rate, you don't need the screen refresh rate as high, the FPS frames per second as high, then you can obviously just turn that down, and that will reduce the performance drag on the device as well. Okay, so in terms of, so let me pull this back up here. So if I go back and back, you see this is the thing. You see the buttons now. I think I might be on my desktop mode here. Why can't I get back out of here? Here we go. So you see there, that is some weirdness there. I pressed B, and despite the fact that that's supposed to take me back, it didn't. But I can actually touch the screen where it says B, and it takes me back. So there's little things like that that are kind of weird, and they're not showstoppers, but they're a little bit irritating. And so yeah, I mean that's sort of a bit of a nuisance, but. Yeah, in terms of the software that comes up with it, Armoury Crate, yeah, is kind of cool. There's lots of other settings as well in here, lots of things you can do, and there's obviously things they're going to try and sell you, lots of how-to videos in here as well. So yeah, you can set your profile up, all that kind of stuff. So generally speaking, the software is pretty good. If you want to add games and things as well, so if you've installed something completely separately outside of the ecosystem, you can absolutely do that. See, these buttons are not responding at the moment, which is kind of annoying. It might be. Let's just see. Oh, it's because I'm in gamepad mode. Let's just try an auto here. See if that does it. So we go back. No, it doesn't, you see. And I've had this before, and this is one of those things that like I say, I do find somewhat irritating. If I should be able to, yeah, I should be able to use the, you see, and it's not responding. The control mode's not responding, and I've had this happen a few times. So I do need to kind of have a look at that. But yeah, I generally find it's not as seamless as you might think. Another thing that is actually a real nuisance, and this isn't really Asus's fault. This is more Sony's fault. I have PS Remote Play now. One of the things that I was considering, albeit for about 3 seconds, was the PlayStation Portal, so I can play my PlayStation games on the PS5 on the go. I have what's called a backbone, which is a thing that you can pop your phone into, which I will continue to use until this problem is sorted out. But basically, you can play PS Remote Play on here, but you'll need a PlayStation controller. That's the long and short of it. There is a piece of software called ReWASD, which is ReWASD, which works really well on the prior model of this, so the ROG Ally, and basically what it does is Windows recognises all of these buttons and controls as an Xbox controller. So what it does is it basically maps it and makes the system see it as a PlayStation controller. So when you go into Remote Play, the Remote Play device sees it as a PlayStation controller, and it works. Otherwise, it just flat out does not work. For the ROG Ally X, there is currently, as I record this, no support for this. So that's a bit of a nuisance, to be honest. So yeah, hopefully that gets resolved soon. And then basically, when you want to add games and software and whatever, there are you've got all the games and everything else that are in here, installed in here. Armoury Crate doesn't really understand the difference between a game and an application, so you can see I've got like Chrome sitting in here, and I've got Launchbox sitting in here, which I really would have liked under the game platform setting, but it's not a biggie. It's not a biggie at all. So if I go into game platforms, you get these ones in here. So you've got things that are familiar to you. So you've got Steam here, GOG Galaxy. Nice thing is with Steam is that you can still play your Steam games, so it's exactly the same as having the Steam Deck. You can play all the Steam games, but you've also got all of these other things available to you as well. Generally speaking, your best bet for EA is to go in through Xbox. If you've got a Xbox Live subscription, then obviously you get a load of EA games, and they will you can connect your two accounts together, and it kind of works that way. I won't go into the details of that. Go look it up if you're not sure. And there are loads of things that you can play in here if you're familiar with this. There's absolutely loads. So you're not going to buy this device and then struggle on day one if you've got an Xbox Live subscription. There's loads and loads of content that you can play without having to spend a single penny other than the cost of your subscription, of course. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just start a game up, and I'm just going to try and show you as best I can what the gameplay is like. I'm going to try and do it on this screen rather than sending it to the computer, just because then you'll get a better view for the screen, whereas if I do it on the computer, you'll see how the game runs in terms of frames per second and all that kind of stuff, but you won't see it on this screen. So I'm going to try and give you the best example I can of that. So I'm just going to get a game started up, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so here you can see we've got Forza 5 running at the moment. Hopefully you kind of get a good idea of just how nice the screen is. It's difficult really with the setup that I've got here to kind of give you a really good view, but take it from me, the screen is just stunning. The level of detail is absolutely superb. I'm going to try and play this now, which is going to be kind of difficult because I'm at a weird angle, so let me just see if I can load into the game. Right, I'm going to be driving it at an extremely weird angle, and you're going to have to deal with the fact that let me move that up there a little bit. So this is going to be terrible because I'm sort of at 90 degrees, and I don't want to obscure the view too much. So normally obviously I'd be holding this, and it's lovely for playing while you're holding it, and yeah, it just is stunning. It's really amazing actually to consider the fact that you've got such a powerful device just in your hands. It is incredible. Right, okay, so let's go to let me see, to click on drive there. While that's loading, actually, let me just show you one of the things that I bought recently. So this is the this is a little Anker. Hang on a minute. Let me just turn the volume down just 1 second. This is a little Anker docking station. This only costs about £16, and I would definitely recommend getting something like this. It's got a pass-through on it, so you can pass through your 65. I think, pass through 65 watt. You can pass 100 watt through, and it will charge, I think, at 85 watts. And I assume it powers the device as well. You've got a 5 gig USB-C, and then you've got a couple of standard USB ports. I think they're both 5 gig ports. And then you've also got HDMI as well. So one of the things that I've done with the HDMI is when playing things like Age of Empires or City Skylines, what I did was just plug that in here, plug that into the back of my monitor, and it just threw it straight to the big screen in 1080p, and it was lovely. Really, really nice. Really, really simple, and pretty inexpensive. So I think this is definitely worth a purchase. It's nice and compact. USB-C on the end. You've got 2 USB-C ports on the top here, so obviously you could pass through your power at the same time. So definitely worth a purchase. £16, going to be about the same in dollars, no doubt. Really, really useful to keep handy with you, and obviously, yeah, this allows me then to have my little travel mouse as well. So I've got the little USB dongle sitting in the top there as well. Okay, all right, let's get stuck in with the game then, and this is going to be fun. I mean, whatever's been going on here, I think I probably already screwed up here. Alright, actually I'm going to have to lift it slightly because, oh hang on, what have I done? Oh, I've quit the game. Alright, let's wait for that to load again then. Let's get some volume back on here a minute. Hopefully this will load a bit quicker. It did. Alright. This is the most awkward driving experience ever of my life. And for those of you who've seen my videos, you know how awful my driving is in these games at the best of times when I'm commentating. Yeah, this is it's really tricky, but hopefully you get the idea. it is really lovely. And you know, I'm plugged in at the moment, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do. And this is quite an intensive game in terms of performance, so I'm just going to pull the plug out. So you can see we're on battery, and you see it's moved into performance mode. So it was in turbo mode, and to be honest with you, I cannot tell any difference. There is no difference here whatsoever. So it is, yeah, really, really lovely. Now the only thing here is, of course, that in this performance mode, I'm probably going to run my battery down quite quickly. So let's just switch it into, let's pop it into turbo mode. Oh no, actually no, let's pop it into silent mode. Sorry, that's what I meant to do. And then let's continue. And again, you know, like this is using half the power of what it would be if it was plugged in, and I cannot see any difference. Now, obviously, oh dear, this is so awkward playing like this angle. Obviously, you know, a lot of games like Forza driving games and that are pre-rendered, but to be honest with you, I really can't see any difference in terms of performance. So, you know, you can quite comfortably, if you're happy with this level of interaction, you can quite happily play this when you're on the go, and it will save your battery. So yeah, so that's the games for sure. This is really, really cool. So what I'm going to do now quickly, apart from absolutely trashing myself, oh yeah, one thing you want to notice there as I'm crashing through the trees really, really badly and destroying my lovely car that I've got here, is that there is a decent amount of haptic feedback as well, and you can adjust that, so you can feel it kind of vibrating away and buzzing away, which is really quite cool. I don't know what handbrake is actually, not whatever it was I pressed there. Skill point for what? She's absolutely trashing my car. Alright, so there you go. So that's sort of a high intensity game, and yeah, that's really cool. So let's just come out of this. I know I'm going to have a bad back tomorrow. My wife will be like, why did you have a bad back? And I'll be like, well, it's because I played a car game on my Rog Ally at the most awkward angle ever. And she'll probably just roll her eyes. Alright, so let's go to Launchbox. Alright, so this is a nice feature as well. It allows you to close all running programs. So Launchbox is something that if you want to play some retro games on your Rog Ally, or any PC for that matter, Launchbox is a really good option. Launchbox is the free version. There's a thing called Big Box as well, which gives you sort of more. To be honest with you, I haven't had a really good look at it, so I'm not going to talk with too much authority on this, but I think it just gives it, you know, a lot more flexibility around what you can and can't do. Launchbox, like a lot of these platforms, basically relies on RetroArch that sits underneath, and it to run the games. So that's all pretty standard and familiar to many of you in this space. And what we're going to do is let's pick a Sonic game. So let's go Sonic, and then let's go for Sonic and Knuckles. This is one I should have tested this before I did the video. Here we go. This is one of my favourite Sonic games. That was interesting actually, because that was a little bit jerky there. So let's just pop this out here, and let's just pop that up to 17. It's crazy really when you consider we were just playing Forza 5, and this game from 1994 was a bit jumpy. That might just be the emulator. That might not be anything to do with this. So we should. I'm hoping we'll be in the correct mode here. So I'm going to probably afford to hold this a little bit further away. Alright, so let's pause. It's worth remembering. What mode are we in here? Control mode. See, I reckon if we go to gamepad mode, that's better. This is where you really will bump into issues with the control setup. Right, okay, so what we've got here, so we've got this. Alright, there we go. It's a slightly awkward angle. This is where, like I said, this is where you'll run into issues with the controller. You'll suddenly find things don't quite work the way you expect them to. So you can just do that little pop out there and force it into gamepad mode, and and you might find you get a different response. And if that doesn't work, you can try the desktop mode and see if that works. Right, so let's, there we go. So as you would expect, really more than capable of running these old emulators. See, the emulators themselves aren't old, but these old games with on these emulators. Oh, nearly. Okay, I'm going quiet now, so I'm concentrating. I don't know why this never usually lasts long. I'm usually pretty hopeless. There we go. That did last long. As I said, it happened. So I mean, on here you can run pretty much. You run most emulators really. It will support quite a lot. So obviously, you know, because it's a powerful device. I mean, generally, if you can run it on a powerful modern PC, I find you can actually play the game that you're trying to do. Oh dear me, I've been hopeless. No. Stop bouncing into that, for goodness sakes. There we go. Right. So a little bit of fiddliness with the controllers here. It's not quite. Yeah, that's not quite doing what I expect. There we go. Hey. Alright, I'm going to stop doing that. Right. So yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've definitely found with this is that you need to just sort of tinker around a little bit with the settings just to ensure that it's correct. So you might find different emulators behaving in a slightly different way. You might find that you need to set up a new control scheme. That rewazd thing, I think, gives you some flexibility to do some things like that. Yeah, this is... I can't seem to be able to spin around here. There we go. Okay. All right. So you get the idea. So we should now. Oh, all right. Well, I'm at the end level boss, so let's just do that, shall we? Oh, that's dramatic. There you go. Should we do this? Let's do it. Oh, of course. Oh, that was terrible. I forgot about that. Gosh. Yeah, I used to love that. I used to be really good at that as well. Clearly not anymore. All right. Okay, so that's the software, and basically, I mean, you can see I've got all manner of things on here, and really, I should be able to move around, but I can't at the moment, and this is to do with this weird setup with this. If I go to desktop, yeah. So you see what I'm saying here. This is just slightly irritating. The fact that you've got screen control is good. If I kill this, let's try and see if I can restart it again. See if that makes a difference. It probably won't. No. Okay. I generally found actually you have to restart the whole device to get it to behave properly. So little niggles like that. There are definitely those around, and you won't get that with the Steam Deck. That will be you know, a much more seamless experience, but obviously the downside of that is you won't have the flexibility to play your Microsoft games on there or your Ubisoft games unless they happen to be available in the Steam store. And the other problem with Steam, of course, is that it does rely on you. It also, not every single game on the Steam store will be available on the Steam Deck, so they've got to be optimized for that as well. So it is a little bit more limited, and obviously you're paying for those games as well, whereas on here, you know, the nice thing is you can get going straight away. Obviously the flip side of that, it's a much more expensive device. So there you go. So that's the software and a bit of gameplay as well. So let's kind of go through, and I'll give you kind of my final thoughts on the Asus Rog Ally X. Okay, so what did I think of that overall? Would I buy it? Obviously I would buy it. I bought it. Would I have bought the previous one? Probably not. Two reasons. One is that it is in white, and whilst the white device looks lovely, I have heard that the white one does get a little bit on the grubby side. But more importantly than that, and whilst the white one does look really nice, and I was very tempted, not least because it's quite a lot cheaper, it comes with half the battery life, and that was a big criticism for the Rog Ally. And so this, by comparison, the Rog Ally comes with a 40 watt-hour battery, and this comes with an 80 watt-hour battery. So you got several hours of intense gameplay on here, and I know that, you know, I don't know what the exact figures are. I just know anecdotally that you do get a good couple of hours of playtime on this. Whereas if the other one was on half that, then that would have been quite frustrating. Now the flip side of it, the worst thing worth remembering is that those three modes that I showed you, the turbo mode, performance mode, and the silent mode, the amount of power that the device gives to those games in the original Rog Ally is less. So it doesn't draw as much, but the performance is also less. So what that means is that whilst the performance of this device essentially is the same as the Rog Ally, in terms it's still the Ryzen Z1 Extreme, from a sort of standalone out and about point of view, then you're going to get much better performance with this, because it can afford to give a little bit more power to your games. And obviously if you want to make it last longer, you can just dial that back a little bit and still have better performance than you would have unplugged on the previous generation of device. The other thing that I really like is the fact that this comes with a 1 terabyte drive, whereas the Rog Ally and also the Lenovo Legion Go only come with 500 gig. Now that might seem like a lot, but when you consider games like Forza are like 120, 130 gigabytes, and this is meant as a mobile, out and about type of device, then really having the space is important. Now for me, as a retro gamer, obviously the ROMs take up very little space, so I can carry a lot of additional games around with me. But you know, like I've said before, you know, I'm a gamer. I'm not just a retro gamer, so I do want to take new stuff around with me as well. And there's games that, you know, when I'm away and I'm out and about and travelling, that I might be more inclined to play actually on this device than I would necessarily sit in front of a PC or on the PlayStation to play. So I need the battery and I need the storage space, and so this was a much better option. But you do pay for that. You know, you are paying you know, £200-300 more for this device for those extra features, and it comes in black. And of course, because it comes in black, first thing to note, when you switch this thing on and you go into Windows, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to go and you're going to switch your dark mode on, because otherwise you'd be insane. That was also pointed out to me the other day, because I hadn't done that, and they're like, why are you playing it in full light mode? It just like this beautiful black device, and then it's in this mode. Other observations, obviously it doesn't come with the, it's very much set up as a game device, you know, console style game device. So it doesn't come with the little touchpads, which is, I think, an omission, but it does allow for the form factor. Yeah, I know for a fact on the Legion Go that the touchpad device that they've introduced on there is really not very good, and the detachable controller that you can use as sort of a mouse, kind of, I've got to demonstrate, comes off and you sort of move it around like this, kind of in a vertical position, seems to be somewhat of a gimmick. So I don't know how realistically useful that is. I think if you want a mouse, plug a mouse in, just take a little travel mouse with you and just use a mouse and a little keyboard. I mean, they really don't take up a lot of space. It is a bit of a nuisance that you've got to do that. It's also a bit of a nuisance I can't fit them into my case. But frankly, you know, if I'm going on a plane and I'm taking my hand luggage with me, adding this little keyboard and mouse to my hand luggage really isn't a big deal. So definitely worth doing. And if you don't need it, don't take it. You know, that's the thing. The other thing that was infamously a problem on the original Rog Ally is there was a really big problem, and I think Asus have only really just acknowledged that this was a big problem, and I think there's class action lawsuits in the States and everything around the SD card reader, and that it was basically just mincing the SD cards that people were putting in, and it was a problem with every single device apparently. It would just happen at some point. It wasn't like an if, it was more a when. So they have actually moved that on this device now, and I believe it is rectified here, so I hope so. I can't imagine that they would introduce something so catastrophic in the next generation. You think they'll listen to that. Other things that they've improved with this as well is the cooling. It amazes me, actually, the cooling is really impressive. So bearing in mind that you're playing games like Forza 5, intensive graphic games, it stays pretty cool to the touch. So yeah, it's really good on that front as well. So yes, would I recommend it? Yeah, I think I would. I think I would recommend it. It is a lot of money. It is definitely an investment. But if you're really into gaming on the go, for me, I don't own a PC. So there is a PC in the house, but that is not mine. That is my son's, which he games on. So for me, I don't own a PC. I've got a Mac, so I don't really game on my Mac. I'm more of a console gamer, so this is a great way of getting into the PC gaming on the go. This suits me really down to the ground, and I can plug it into a monitor, and I can play full-blown keyboard and mouse style games as I could on the PC, and there's very little it doesn't do, which is really cool. So yeah, really good. Other things, I mentioned the screen was really good, the sound quality is really good. There is a little bit of a trick with the sound where you can go and just adjust it and it will give a bit more output. It's sort of optimized. It's quite quiet actually, but the sound quality is good, and there are some tricks online where it just sort of tells you how to go and get the best out of the volume there, and you can get a much richer, louder sound if you go and just do a bit of tinkering around that as well. So yes, there you go. So there's the Asus Rog Ally. As already mentioned, the reason why I bought it as opposed to the Steam Deck, and that is not in any way to rubbish the Steam Deck. I think the Steam Deck is a fantastic piece of equipment. If you want something that you can just pick up and play, you've got some Steam content stored already, then the Steam Deck is definitely going to be for you. Go just get that. It's really simple. It's really easy to use. It's really well thought out. It's quite a bit cheaper, but obviously it just doesn't give you that flexibility. With that flexibility, however, as I've already mentioned, does come with a few little challenges. So, I do find configuration a little bit unusual. The controller setup is a little bit of a faff at times. So it's not completely straightforward. There are times when, little things creep in, like game will come up in windowed mode and you can't maximize it, or just little things like that where you might have to come out, or you might have to just restart Windows to get it to behave properly, and you don't have to do it very often, just every now and again, and just having to sort of tinker about with it a little bit more, well, a lot more than you would with the Steam Deck. You don't have to do any of that with the Steam Deck, that's just going to work. Whereas on this and on the Legion Go, the Lenovo Legion Go, the fact that you've got Windows in there means that there is just a little bit more user interaction that is required to get things to behave how you want. So it is not completely seamless. That would be my biggest criticism, and you do have to fiddle about with it, and sometimes you're just kind of working around little foibles with it. But overall, I mean, if I was to give it a score, I would probably put it in the region of a sort of 8.5, maybe even a 9 out of 10. I really love it. It's great fun to use, great fun to play with, and as the more I use it, the more I really love it. So I am thoroughly enjoying it at the moment. It looks great, super powerful, fantastic games, beautiful screen. But what lets it down, as like I say, is just those little software things that are just a bit of a nuisance. Everything else, absolutely sublime. So if you've got the money and you want to go do it, buy it. If you want to go and buy the Ally, the Rog Ally, obviously bear in mind that issue with SD card. By all means, go and have a look at that. But I think out of the three, there's also the MSi Claw, which I looked at the specs of that, and that didn't even enter onto my list. I've not heard great things about that. Then that's great. And let's not forget also about the Nintendo Switch. So if you just want a gaming device on the go and you don't want to spend a lot of money, you know what, the Switch is still a great piece of kit. We've got two of them in this house. They are fantastic pieces of equipment for on the go as well. So think about what it is that you want to achieve. If you want full-blown PC gaming on the go with maximum flexibility, I cannot recommend this device enough, and I would pick this one every single day of the week. Okay, so I hope that was really useful. Hopefully it didn't go on too long. So yes, that is it for the Rog Ally review. I'm going to get back and do some gaming reviews again. I haven't quite decided what I want to do yet. I need to get one recorded before I go away on my travels. I will be taking this with me actually. Maybe I'll even talk to you about how it was when I was away, because when you're not connected to the network it can be a bit of a finicky thing as well. So definitely if you're traveling, make sure that you're you check that your games are working when not connected to the network. And I think that's probably just to do with the services that you're using. But just check that before you go, because the last thing you want to do is be 30,000 feet and try Forza and then realise you've got to be connected to the network to actually play it. So just check those sorts of things when you're up and running. But yes, so anyway, I'll be back to some game reviews, and then I do want to have run a bit of a series on some old consoles as well. I quite like reviewing hardware, and I've got plenty of it sitting behind you. You can't see it, but I've got plenty of old hardware that I'd really like to review. Some I've never even played on before, so I've never really owned Xboxes before, and now I have 3. So I kind of like to go and review those through the eyes of someone that's not really played on Xbox very much before, but also some of the other things like Dreamcast and SNES, Cube, those kind of things. And I'd like to sort of talk about how they hold up today, how you kind of get them connected up and get the best out of them, where to find the games, and some tips and tricks on how to get started with those devices if those are something you're interested in. So hoping to do that pretty soon. I'm really excited about that. I think that's probably it. So please go and have a look at some of my other videos if you want to. Go and have a look at the unboxing one for this, and also my lap time challenge. I realise I am totally waffling now, so I'm going to totally wrap this up now. If you're enjoying these, please do like and subscribe. I really do appreciate it. I've seen loads of new subscribers. For me, as a relatively small channel at the moment, every subscriber that I see is wonderful. It makes me smile, and I genuinely mean that. So I really appreciate those of you who've subscribed so far, and hit that like button on there. But yeah, if you're watching this and you've enjoyed it and you've not got too bored of me droning on, please do hit that subscribe button and that like button. Really do appreciate it. So that's it for me. I will see you in the next one very soon, and until then, take care of yourselves and bye for now.